Heyo guys, it's your boy MidnightSnorlax and we back again playing Q, also known as Cards, the Universe, and everything. So for this video, we're gonna be playing leagues using my new deck, which is the Cultural Phenomenon. So let's select deck, and right here is the Cultural Phenomenon. So most of my cards here in the Cultural Phenomenons are culture and arts cards, and there are some cards in here that are not cultural phenomena, which is the history cards and the science card, but these cards are useful. They could help my deck out. So let's go play the league, the rank game, and as you can see, I'm rank 13 Albatross. It was kind of hard for me to go up because of this new gameplay that got refreshed. So in this gameplay, most of them are culture and arts terrain, so I gotta edit some decks, and it took time because I don't have the good cards for the culture and arts. I have only few cards for my culture and arts, so I gotta choose wisely. So let's start playing. We're in the history terrain. So for this, I'm going to be using the Sushi so that we could gain plus 30. And if I win this one, I could gain plus 30 permanently. And then we're going to be using this Century Egg. No, we're not going to be using that because it's too early. And we're going to lose some points. So we're going to be using the eggs Benedict and this sandwich theory. So we have 193. We have 2 energy cost left. Our opponent has 138 plus 20. So we have more advantage. We gain plus 30 permanently for the Sushi. So Century Egg, we're going to be using it later. So the Queen Victoria and the Prince Albert use its ability to give plus 1 energy cost to 4 random cards on hand of the opponent. So I'm going to be using these Berserkers, and then I'm going to be using the Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, and then I'm going to be using Martin Luther King Jr. so we can get plus 20 to all. So end turn. So we have the advantage since we have more points than the opponent. So we gain plus 26 for the Berserkers, and then plus 1 to all cards. So we're still gonna keep on saving up points. So I'm gonna be using this fencing. So if I win this round, I could gain plus 30 energy points, and then I'm going to be using this Chinlone. Sorry if I don't know how to pronounce, but I'm going to be using that one since it gains plus 15 to all of my good sport, and then I'm going to be using this Taekwondo. So I have 170, and we have the advantage. So we're going to win this round. So we have 1 plus 30 for the turn. The good thing about this Century Egg is that every time we start the game, then this Century Egg gives plus 1 to all of my cards. So yeah, that's the thing that I like about this, but the problem is that the cost is too high. So let's start playing. So since it's starting, I'm going to be using the cheese rolling. So since it's the start of the game with its ability energy points, so we're going to use the Sanctuary of Delphi. So we're going to be using few. We have more advantage since we have 329 and our opponent has a fewer points. But the bad thing about this card is that I have a deduction of 80 energy points per turn. So I think this is the right time to use the Century Egg since we have 21 energy cost. So let's use the Century Egg. We have 115, So that's minus 80 points, so we have 35 for now. And then we're gonna be using this Spartan helmet and the King Leonidas, so that's a Spartan combo. So we have 169 and our opponent has 80, so we have more advantage to this. So our opponent gained plus 100 to that Ocean and Sea card. Okay, then we still have minus 80 here. We have deduction of 80 points. That's to the effect of the card that I use. So we're going to be using Arte. So since I have 4 Greek, ancient Greece, so it gains plus 30 in here. So we're going to be using this tennis, and then we're going to be using the Ackee and Saltfish. So we have 118, but we still have the advantage. And then for this card, we're going to be having plus 70 to that card. So the ability of that card, the Ackee and Saltfish, when it returns, then it gains plus 70 energy points to that card. So it's really useful if you want to use it. So since we have a Curious Cuisine, I'm going to be using this Sushi, and then I'm going to be using Eggs Benedict for the Curious Cuisine ability. And then I'm going to be using Martin Luther King Jr. so that we could gain plus 20 to all. So we have 213 and our opponent has 97. So since the starting of the game, it has its ability to gain 200 points. So our opponent has more advantage because our opponent has 360 and we have 216. So we barely made it to the middle. So let's see if we could catch up to our opponent, since our opponent has its effect of deduction of 80 points. So my Queen Victoria and Prince Albert turned on its ability. So we're going to be using the fencing and then the berserkers, and we're going to be using the sandwich theory. So we have 192 and our opponent has 45. So plus 20 to the space card. So I think we could reach the middle since our opponent is in a disadvantage. And then we gain plus 30 per turn. So we're gonna use cheese rolling later if we lose. So I'm gonna be using Taekwondo, and since we have a good sport, I'm gonna be using this Chinlone, and then I'm gonna be using this Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. So we have 177, our opponent has 103. So we have the advantage and we win this round. So that was a good game. I liked playing that game, but I felt like there wasn't any challenge. So maybe this deck is not good. So let's try to play again. So if you guys like this deck or this type of cards that I'm using, or the type of cards that I'm using, I'm going to put it in the description box so that you guys can see the types that I'm using for my cultural phenomenon. Maybe you guys would want to use it in your deck, and I'll gladly share it to you guys. So if you guys want me to make more videos like this, comment down below, click the subscribe button, and like the video. So let's start playing the game. So we're in a space terrain. So I'm going to be using the Spartan helmet and King Leonidas. And then since we have 8 energy cost, I'm going to be using the Martin Luther King Jr. so that we could gain plus 20 to all. We have 200 and our opponent has 170. So we have the advantage, plus 10, and our opponent has 180. and then we gain 1 energy cost. So for this, since we're in the starting point, I'm gonna be using the Ackee and Saltfish so that when the card return, you'll gain plus 70 energy points. And then I'm gonna be using Sushi so that when it returns and we win, if ever we win, then we'll gain plus 30. And I'm gonna be using Eggs Benedict because it activates its ability to both of my cards in here, that is Curious Cuisine. So we have 122, our opponent has 145, and then gains plus 30, 175. So our opponent has more advantage. So it activates its ability, we gain plus 70, and then we gain nothing for Sushi since we lost the round. So we're gonna be using, I think I'm gonna be using this, or I think I'm just gonna lose the round instead. I'm gonna put this too because my cards is burning and I couldn't make any combo. Plus, if we take the loss, we could gain additional energy cost so that we could make more combos. So we gain 1 loss. And then my Century Eggs activates its ability to give plus 1 to all. So since it's the starting of the game, let's try to use Cheese Rolling so that we'll gain plus 200 points. And I'm going to be using this Chinlone so that it could gain plus 15 to my Good Sports. So if I use Tennis, then we'll gain 350. So we have the advantage in here. Our opponent has the disadvantage. So the ability, the effect of its ability activates. So we have deducted 80 points. So in order to gain more points, I think I'm going to be using this. I'm going to be using Berserker so that when it returns, we'll gain plus 26 permanently. And I'll use Fencing. In case if we win, then we're gonna have additional 30 points. And then I'm gonna be using Sandwich Theory to give plus 30 to both of my cards. So we have 87 and then our opponent has 200 plus. So we have the disadvantage, but we're close to the enemy's side of the line. We're close to the middle. So I think we have a shot. So the Queen Victoria and the Prince Albert activate its ability to add plus 1 energy cost to 4 of the cards, 4 random cards of my opponent. So I think I'm going to be using this Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, and then I'll be using this Century Egg, and then I'm going to be using Martin Luther King Jr. to gain plus 20 to all. So we have 156. Our opponent has 218. So our opponent has more advantage. So we lose this round. That was kind of close though, but our opponent has 100 plus energy points. So our opponent has the advantage. So let's start playing here. So our opponent has 100 energy points per turn, so they have the advantage in here. So I think I'm going to be using the RET, and then I want to use this Ackee and Saltfish so that when it returns it will gain plus 70 points, energy points. And then I'm going to be using the Taekwondo since we have 101, so we have 270. And then our opponent's 122, so we have the advantage. So our opponent's the Sun gains 11 energy cost, so our opponent can't make a combo, and that was good because if it didn't have 11 energy cost, then we would have the disadvantage and we would lose this game. So I'm going to be using Sushi, and I'm going to be using Eggs Benedict, and I'm going to be using Alexander the Great. So we have 159. Our opponent has 192 plus 10, 202. So our opponent has the advantage. He passed the enemy's side of the line, so we still have the advantage in this game. So I think we could win this game. So I'm going to be using the King Leonidas, and I'm going to be using the Spartan helmet, and then I'm going to be using the Sanctuary. So we have 178, and our opponent has 169 plus 30, 199. So our opponent has the advantage, but we still pass the enemy's side. So we won this round, and that was great. I thought we were gonna lose the round, but thanks to Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, it added +1 energy cost to 4 random cards to our opponent's cards. So what are we gonna use? We're gonna be using cheese rolling. So +200, and let's use fencing, and then let's use Chinlone. So we have 417. Our opponent has 219, and we have the advantage. So we have 34 in the turn. We have 80. So since we have 34, we have deducted points, and then 16 deducted points. So we have 46 per turn that was deducted. So the Queen Victoria and Prince Albert activated its ability again, and we're gonna be using this Berserkers so that we could gain +26 when it returns. And then we're gonna be using this Century. No, we're not gonna be using Century Egg because we're gonna have 1 energy cost left. So I'm gonna be using this Tennis and then the Sandwich Theory. So we have 167. Our opponent has 180. Our opponent has the advantage, but we still cross the enemy's side of the line. We gain +26 for the Berserkers. So we're waiting for our opponent. So I think I'm going to be using this one. I'm going to be using this, the Ackee and Saltfish, so that when it returns we gain 70 points, energy points for the card. And then we're going to be using the Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, and then we're going to be using this Martin Luther King Jr. so that we gain +20 to all. We got 222, and our opponent has 94, so we have the advantage in here, and we win this round. We gain +70 to our Ackee and Saltfish. So now we're at the last round, and let's see if we could win this round. My opponent has 2 win and I have 2 loss. I also, so let's see if we're gonna win this. I also have 2 win and my opponent has 2 loss. So let's use this Century Egg. I'm gonna be using this. No, I'm not gonna be using Century Egg. I'm gonna be using this Eggs Benedict. I'm gonna be using Sushi, and then I'm gonna be using Arctic. So we have 248. Our opponent has 327. Our opponent has more advantage. And we got deducted points of 11 energy points. So let's go and check what can we do. So we have 13 energy cost. So I think we can't use the Century Egg because we only have 13 energy cost. So we need to make a combo in here. I think I'm going to be using Taekwondo, and I'm going to be using the King Leonidas and the... Oh no, I can't use Spartan helmet. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use Alexander the Great. Oh no, I can't. I can't make a combo. So I'm going to be using the King Leonidas and then Spartan helmet so that we gain 114. So our opponent has 322. So yeah, I think we're gonna be losing this round since my cards got burnt. and my energy points are going low, and I can't make a combo in here. So I'm gonna be using this Taekwondo, and I'll be using the Alexander the Great and this one. So we lost this round, and it was a good game. That was so close. I thought I was winning this round, but I wasn't. Not gonna lie, my opponent has a great deck. I lost because of the burnt and that 100 points that they have per turn. So that was very effective because almost some of their cards has a 100 points in it, so they could make 300 points or more. So that's it, guys. I didn't get to win, but this deck is useful though for this gameplay. It's useful. I made it to rank 13, but I lost. So thanks guys for watching. If you guys want to see more cards, culture and everything, or Q videos, comment down below, subscribe, and click the notification bell if you guys wanna get notified of new updates, and click the like button too. So with that said, thanks for watching and bye.